snap in her girdle. It was part of her charm. Every Friday night, as long as my grandfather was alive, the whole family, including spouses, would gather to play a card game called Rook. And if you were Graham's partner, it was not wise to miss a trick or lose the bid. Everyone's favorite old home movie featured Graham playing in a softball game at a family picnic in her younger days. She made contact with the ball and ran the bases with such singleness of purpose, a large woman coming at you like Bronco Nagurski, that no one got in her way. Home run. When she played Chinese checkers with small grandchildren, she was not one of those pushover grandmothers who would lose on purpose to make the grandchildren feel better about themselves. Graham believed, before Max Dupree ever said it, that a leader's first task is to define reality. She was the leader, and reality was she played to win. Pouting and self-pity, two of my spiritual gifts, did not elicit sympathy from her, for even when she was playing, she kept an eye on what kind of person you were becoming. And my grandmother taught me how to play the game. Grandma was at her feistiest when it came to Monopoly. Periodically, leaders like General Patton or Attila the Hun develop a reputation for toughness. They were lapdogs next to her. Imagine that Vince Lombardi had produced an offspring with Lady Macbeth, and you get some idea of the competitive streak that ran in my grandmother. She was a gentle and kind soul, but at the Monopoly table she would still take you to the cleaners. When I got the initial $1,500 from the banker to start the game, I always wanted to hang on to my money as long as possible. You never know what chance card might turn up next. The board is a risky place. I am half Swedish on my father's side, and Swedes are not high rollers. But my grandmother knew how to play the game. She understood that you don't win without risk, and she did not play for second place, so she would spend every dollar she got. She would buy every piece of property she landed on. She would mortgage every piece of property she owned to the hilt in order to buy everything else. She understood what I did not, that accumulating is the name of the game, that money is how you keep score, that the race goes to the swift. She played with skill, passion, and reckless abandon. Eventually, inevitably, she would become master of the board. When you're master of the board, you own so much property that no one can hurt you. You're in control. Other players regard you with fear and envy, shock and awe. From that point on, it's only a matter of time. She would watch me land on boardwalk one time too many, hand over to her what was left of my money, and put my little race car marker away, all the time wondering why I had lost yet again. "Don't worry about it," she'd say. "One day you'll learn to play the game." I hated it when she said that. Then one year when I was 10, I spent a summer playing Monopoly every day with a kid named Steve, who lived near us. Gradually it dawned on me that the only way to win this game was to make a total commitment to acquisition. No mercy, no fear. What my grandmother had been showing me for so long finally sank in. By the fall, when we sat down to play, I was more ruthless than she. My palms were sweaty. I would play without caution or softness. I was ready to bend the rules if I had to. Slowly, cunningly, I exposed the soft underbelly of my grandmother's vulnerability. Relentlessly, inexorably, I drove her off the board. The game does strange things to you. I can still remember it happened at Marvin Gardens. I looked at my grandmother. This was the woman who had taught me how to play. She was an old lady by now, a widow. She had raised my mother. She loved my mother as she loved me. I took everything she had. I destroyed her financially and psychologically. I watched her give up her last dollar and quit in utter defeat. It was the greatest moment of my life. I had won. I was cleverer and stronger and more ruthless than anyone at the table. I was master of the board. But then my grandmother had one more thing to teach me. The great lesson comes at the end of the game. And here it is. In the words of James Dobson, who described this lesson from Monopoly and playing with his family many years ago, "Now it all goes back in the box." All those houses and hotels, all that property, Boardwalk and Park Place, the railroads and the utility companies, all those thousands of dollars, when the game is over, it all goes back in the box. I didn't want it to go back in the box. I wanted to leave it out as a perpetual memorial to my skill at playing the game, to bronze it perhaps so others could admire my tenacity and success. I wanted the sense of power that goes with being master of the board to last forever.